I was born in Messina, the area which I don't even have much of the recollection. Everything else that I know about the area is through the feedback that I got from family members. But when my father went on pension, we moved to Mudruni Habutana. That's where I remember quite a lot. I went to my first primary school, Babanda Primary School. Of course, it was a makeshift primary school at the time. We had to go to the river to get some sand, bring it, pile it up to assist the contractors as they were erecting the school. I moved to the senior primary school, moved to junior secondary school, until I finally arrived in a high school, Utama Secondary School. There, I spent 2 years initially, because I did my grade 11 there and my grade 12. I failed the first year and repeated again and did my other matric in the same school, and I got the same results. The only difference was with one subject, I think, where instead of a 50-something, I got a 60-something. I left school wanting to do something for my life, but these were now the tough years of my life. These years were characterized by a very unhealthy kind of lifestyle. Binge drinking, one of them, cigarette smoking, trying out basically with quite a number of other harmful stuff. It was really tough. I decided I was going to look for a job, because during this era, the majority of times it was just waking up and watching the sunrise and go throughout the day smoking, drinking, and watch the sun go down. It was quite difficult. But then I decided to take my struggle to the local town, look for work, which eventually I found. I started working at a clothing shop as a sales assistant. I did that for a couple of years, but somewhere around 1990, that's when I decided I was going to take my struggle somewhere else. And I landed myself in Krugersdorp, an area called Headport. There I met my former employees. This is one of those areas where in the 90s I had to be walking up and down at a time when I was working down here in Headport. It became part of the history that has comprised this kind of person that I am today. I started working in a piggery farm. It was called the Fan Piggery at the time. I went there nursing pigs, working with the little ones, giving them injections, basically nursing them. You could easily say that I was their doctor, and the pigs themselves, I think they sort of recognized me. This is where I used to stay. That was way back in 1990. Those years were tough because there was not really salary as such. If you look back, 250 rand at that time, which I could actually take for a month, and it wasn't really good. We had our differences at some point. That's when the words of my mother started making a lot of sense, to say, come back home, go to school, study, and all that. I then heeded my mother's call to go back to school. And there was no other way that I could have done that except to go back to high school and write my matric again. And remember, this was the third time lucky that I was trying out in matric. Because I was older, I think I was 23 at the time, I decided I was going to register at a school far away from home because I could not take the embarrassment of going back home in the same village with younger children. That's when I decided Sintumule was going to be the better place for me to be. I went there, I registered, I started my high school years. It was quite an experience, having been on the outside, having experienced the little salary that I got in headboard, and at the same time, I was older. I think I was among the 4 oldest children in the school. Interestingly, I had beard all over them, and I could shave, but I sort of put all that aside and concentrated on that particular year. It became more of a turnaround for me because when I finally achieved my matric, I got my matric with a university endorsement and a distinction at the same time. With my matric certificate, having been endorsed for university, opportunities were becoming open. That's when I decided I was going to register as and train as a teacher. I went to a college called Maano College of Education. There I spent 3 years which were characterized by a lot of development as a person as well as on leadership as well. During these years, I moved from a gender officer to a treasurer and finally becoming the president of the SRC. It was during these years that I started feeling that life is changing for myself, even though I did not have a job at the time, but it simply meant that the doors were opening up and the light was now becoming more visible and more visible. My teaching years started at Supreme Educational College, which was located at the time in Joburg Park, and later moved to Braamfontein. I spent 4 years at that institution and gained valuable experience. A school called Chris Jan Botha Secondary School appointed me in 2001 as an ordinary level 1 teacher and eventually promoted me to a head of department in 2005. In 2008, I got an opportunity to enter as a deputy principal at that institution. But later on, I had to leave, joining a school called Cosmos City Secondary School as a deputy principal appointed. At that school, that's where I spent a couple of years, from 2009 up until 2012. In 2012, on the 1st of July, that's when I was appointed as a principal at Cosmos City Secondary School 3, which eventually we changed its name to Blue Eagle High School. It is my wish that young children in school, out of school, would be able to look at my life and find some resemblance to a point where they can change their lives. Because it is important to realize that once the mindset has been changed, everything else becomes possible.
MPEG Creations.